Well, I'm glad you're my dad because you are helpful, you're kind, you're nice, you're good to our family, you help Mom with stuff, you brought me out here, and I'm just glad you're my dad because you take me places and it's amazing. And I love you because you taught me everything that I know, sports, you help me with my schoolwork. You drive me places sometimes, and it's just a good experience also that you brought me out here too. And I'm proud of you because you started the barn ministry and you lead that and you invite other men to come. And yeah, I'm proud of you because you're also the CEO of a company and you keep our family in the house. And I pray to God that you keep going in the ministry and that one day I'll take over for you.
Good morning, Montana morning. Man, it's gorgeous here, buddy. Big sky is real. The mountains in the background. I could wake up to this every day. Intentional blessing is done in 3 separate ways. Number 1, affirming, encouraging words. Number 2, appropriate touch. And number 3 is prayer. And when men understand the power they have in what they say, in what they do with their hands, and in the amount of time they spend talking to God about the next generation, they get energized, they get excited because they understand they're not just kind of bouncing around through life here helpless. They can be warriors. These are the weapons that a godly warrior uses to bless and encourage the next generation. In Christendom, we use that word blessing kind of loosely. You know what I mean? You see somebody, hey, bless you, man. Hey, bless you. Yeah. You got, what do you say? Bless you. I don't get the connection. You know, snot on your arm and you're leaving and it's all the same stuff. Bless, 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 bless. Well, that's not the biblical way that blessing was bestowed. It really isn't. So we're doing something backwards. It's not wrong, all right? And we're probably not going to change it. I just want you to understand the depth of biblical blessing. The depth of biblical blessing. Especially as it relates to the next generation. Because we've got to be blessing the young ones that are coming up. And frankly, we get to bless the elders. Because that blessing works the same way. It's like Malachi 4:6. It works down, it works back up. The blessing I want you to be thinking about today as we just interact with one another. We had some work projects, some fun stuff, some play stuff, whatever. I want you to be thinking about 3 different things. Number 1, the words you use to speak to others. Affirming, encouraging words become a source of great blessing to others. Affirming, encouraging words. Now here comes a wild one. Appropriate touch. We live in kind of a sick society, so I have to add the word appropriate. I'll just leave it off, but I'm using the word appropriate. So appropriate touch. I'm going to show you guys as we go throughout this day and kind of wrap tonight, is that God has given you a tremendous set of tools here on the end of your arms. Your hands were made to heal and to impart strength to the next generation, to impart comfort to elders that are moving on in their final passage. That's why you have these things. They are to work. At times they are to fight because you are warriors, but often they're to heal. They're to help other people. Appropriate touch is part of blessing. The third and final that I like to share with guys is this, prayer. So affirming, encouraging words, appropriate touch, and prayer are 3 tools that God's given every man to bless the next generation that's coming up and also to help the older generation to pass into their final season of life much, much easier. Because so many young people are not hearing affirming, encouraging words. They're hearing things like, well, you're dumb, you're stupid, you'll never amount to anything. Now, whether they hear that at home or they don't, they're going to hear it on the playground. They're going to hear it at school. It seems like the enemy of our souls sends people just to tell us our weaknesses and where we're going to fall short and where we're going to fail. And the words of a father, the words of a father figure, a respected elder, can cancel out 1,000 curses that comes at a young person. 1,000 curses can be broken by one blessing, by a father.
You know, I'm glad you're my son. And man, there are so many reasons why I am glad that you are my son. Some that come right off the top of my head would be, I just love hanging out with you. It's just cool that we were able to do this together and experience so many new things together, and that just feels great for me. I love wrestling with you. I love fishing with you. I love doing sports with you. I love watching you compete. When I look at you, sometimes I see little me. I said, except I think you're a little bit better than I was at your age. But buddy, I just love hanging with you. And when I think of Grandpa Baker's legacy, from Grandpa Baker to me and to you, I think we're going to be in pretty good shape with the Baker legacy. Man, I love you big time.
Blessing, no matter what form it is not flattery. Flattery is where you tell or do something nice to somebody else for you. You flatter somebody because you want to get something for yourself. That's not what I'm talking about. When a man of God blesses, it's always for the other person, expecting nothing in return. That's what a blessing's about. And I want to share this with you. There is a genuine blessing and there's a counterfeit blessing. That's what that mess is all about. Some of you heard this. If you want to train treasury agents to spot counterfeit bills, you don't expose them to the fake. You know what you do? You expose them over and over again to the real. You put them in a room full of real money, and they look at it and they smell it and they sniff it and they do all crumple it and straighten it, and then you slip in the counterfeit. And that person that's been trained to discern says, you know, I don't quite understand it, but something's not right here. This is a fake. And that's how they spot the fake, by studying the real. In my own life, I have a lovely daughter. Her name is Jenny. And when she was growing up, I took every opportunity I could to speak affirming, encouraging words over her life, to touch her appropriately and to pray for her. And she would hear me, her father, say things like, I love you, you're beautiful, I want to give you a hug. And that was natural for me to do for her. And in the back of my mind, I had this understanding that someday that little girl was going to grow into this fine young woman, and she might just move away. Well, that's what happened. She took off 1,000 miles away to play college basketball at a university. She's 1,000 miles away from me, Dad, her protector. And I had this hunch that sooner or later, because she's lovely, some young guy was going to come along with ill intent. And if he had ill intent, what would he do? He would attempt to say words to her. He might try to even say things like, I love you. He might say things like, oh, you're so beautiful. And he might try to touch her, right? I know he wouldn't be praying for her if he's not the right one. And here's the cool thing, man, this is the power you have. Because when you say to a daughter, I love you, when you touch her, it's the real. And when I say to my daughter Jenny, you're beautiful, it sounds like a symphony. When the wrong guy says that to a young woman that's been trained because the men in her life have trained her to understand the genuine, it sounds like fingernails on a blackboard. When a father touches a daughter appropriately, it feels like warm honey on toast. When the wrong guy comes along and just puts a hand on a shoulder and it's the wrong one, it feels like icy fingers on a cold day. Well, why is that? Because we've exposed them to the real.
You know, when I pray for you, and I pray to God, and I hope God will, well, one of the things I pray for, buddy, is I just pray that God will continue to use me. So I can do the best job that I can to model for you what a man is and what a dad is. And that he uses me to just come alongside you on what he's given you as your unique gifts and talents so that you can just thrive in his kingdom. Things I pray for you, Colton, I didn't get the Jesus right away. So one of my prayers is that you give your life to Christ a lot sooner than Dad did. And there's that first commandment. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, your strength, and love your neighbors as you love yourself. And man, I just pray that you accept Jesus a lot earlier in life than your dad did. Because when you do that, he just shares his purpose for you, and life just makes sense. It just makes more sense. And you're just a bit less focused on yourself than you are on him and others. So man, I pray for that big time. The other thing I pray for you is that you introduce Jesus Christ to your friends. Because so often, other people aren't, other dads might not be doing it. How cool would it be for you to introduce God to your buddies? And just the last thing, Bud, is I don't really care how great an athlete you are, or if you get scholarships. The most important thing to your dad is that you are a man of God and that you follow Jesus Christ.
Guys, I want you to think about this. Where do you think the first recorded blessing in history took place? Now just think about it. Where was that? Scripturally, where was that? You think about, well, Jesus blessed the children. Yeah, that's good. And there was this blessing stuff with Moses and Aaron and all these things. I wanted to study that out. I went all the way back to Genesis 1:28. And the scripture says this: He blessed them, talking about the Heavenly Father and His new creation, His next generation, if you will. He blessed them and said, go forth, be fruitful, and multiply. Right? Everybody got that? What does it mean He blessed them? And I confess that I was picturing Charlton Heston with the big beard, kind of standing on a big rock going, bless you. And then, all right, go clean up the garden or whatever. That wasn't it. Because in the original language, the word bless them is He baraked them. And that word means to kneel and to adore. Now, if you were raised with a theology that God is a distant cosmic meanie waiting to scrunch you when you screw up, I just wrecked your theology. Because the first recorded act of the Heavenly Father, our Creator, to His next of kin, His son, His daughter, was to kneel and to adore. Now, the Creator didn't kneel in worship. Don't get me wrong. But He knelt and He adored. And it's just like, guys, when you had your kids and you'd go to the hospital and they're in that room, that glass room, and you stuck your little nose against the window and you looked around and you saw your child, your son or your daughter. And what welled up inside of you is, that one is mine. That one is mine. And you step forward into life, watching over them, caring for them, just like the Father has done for us. As we go through our day today, guys, I want you thinking about, just in interacting with one another, I want you thinking about ways to speak an encouraging, affirming word over each other, to give each other an appropriate touch. And for guys, we might hug, we might high five, we might, I got Jody Bass here somewhere, so he's probably punching somebody, but he's doing it in love, right, Jody? Yeah? Speak the truth in love, punch in love. That's my man, Jody, right? And there might be somebody, you just watch the guys here, because we're all dealing with stuff, and maybe somebody needs a prayer. So today, let's focus on intentional blessing for one another. This ministry is a total team effort, and you can be part of that team. Perhaps you've got a location, a ranch or a retreat center with lots of outdoor activities where we could shoot our next series. Perhaps you could be a sponsor for one episode or the entire series, or you could even be on the show. If you want to help us to produce high-quality Christian television, build strong families and great dads, please go to our website. Thank you. The highlight of the day for me was when we brought everybody together, all the guys together, and we had the dads and the sons come face to face and share with one another why they loved each other, why they were proud of each other, and what they wanted to see God do. And I never know what's going to happen, man, when we put those guys, a dad and a son, in that scenario. So we just got going, and the sky just gets dark, man. It's just this epic storm is raging in the mountains behind us. And I'm thinking, I don't know if we're going to be able to pull this off. And just at the right moment, it's like God himself said, let me just push that away. Let me just move these clouds for you just a little bit. And this golden glow just hits the whole group as dads and sons are loving on each other and intentionally blessing each other. Man, for me, that was epic. We have the opportunity to bless with our words, our touch, and our prayer. Now, I'm just talking, and maybe that doesn't work real well, so I want to do a little demonstration, if you will. So what we're going to do, we've got some dads and some sons, whether they be natural or spiritual here. It's kind of cool getting a little rain on us, a little sprinkling here. That's all right, man. It's Montana. We're supposed to get wet sometimes. So I'm going to invite, we've got several dads and several sons to come right here and just share a few words with one another.
Charles, they asked us to write down some things in regards to my relationship with you as a spiritual son. This was an easy thing for me because I've known you and loved you for a long time. I'm glad you're my son because you're a man of great integrity. God said, find faithful men and invest in those men. And anybody who knows you knows that you are a faithful man. When you say that, when you call someone friend, you mean it. When you say you love someone, you mean it. I love you simply because you're you. Your successes never cause me to love you more. Your failures never push me away. I think after 8 years that we've been together, what you can see is that I love you unconditionally, and it'll always be that way. I want you to know that. I'm proud of you because you have pushed past your fears of failure and your fears of success to go after your dreams. I'm proud of you because you have overcome a wound of fatherlessness to become a blessing to others who are fatherless. I pray that God will use you to bless nations and that he will set a new course for your family and that he will set you upon stages and put you in positions that only your mind could ever imagine. I want you to know that I love you. And when I call you my spiritual son, I say that as if your blood, my blood, runs through your veins.
I'm glad you're my spiritual dad because you give me hope that no one can give me. When I met you and I snotted all over your jacket. That's the funny story. But the point of it all was that you picked me up when I was broken. And you continued to pick me up year after year, every time I was broken. The biggest trial that happened in my life, you were there for me. You didn't judge me. You didn't shut me down. You didn't hurt me. But you continued to build me. Oftentimes, I would get really jealous. I was like, I hope he doesn't have a son. I hope he doesn't have a son. Please don't have a son. And you had Brian, and I'm so glad you had him because at this point, I'm mature enough to say that Brian has got the best dad in the world. There's nobody else that could raise a man like you can. I love you because you're the best. In my mind, there's nobody like you. There's nobody like you. I don't know anybody that would deal with a kid calling them for no reason. Deal with a kid when you have a full schedule, I know. And you always picked up the phone for me. You always made me feel welcome. And you always make me feel like you love me. And I appreciate that. I'm proud of you because you broke the fatherless curse in your life. And with power of dad, you continue to break the curse in others' lives. You are a father to many. And I pray that your organization is worldwide and international. I believe that God has given you this drum to beat. And I don't mind that you beat the same drum because you beat my heart every time you beat that drum. Over my life, you've done so much. I pray that God will bless you with many more spiritual sons and spiritual children. But also I pray for Desi, I pray for Destiny, and I pray for Brianna, and I pray for Brian, and I pray that they pray for their dad as you father them and father the world as well. And I love you, and I never want to lose this relationship. I know this week alone, it switched over to man-to-man conversation.
That's right. Yeah.
And I felt that in the spirit, and I'm so happy.
Yeah.
Because that means that somebody became a man this week.
That's right.
And I'm glad that you were here with me for that.
Yeah, baby. When Brian Pruitt and Charles came together, now here we've got an older man and a younger man that are not biologically related, but God put them together as a spiritual dad and a spiritual son. To see them sharing these deep thoughts just thrilled me, because this was my vision for Man Camp, and it's been that way for a decade. I've been waiting for this moment to bring together the generations and just to watch them bond together under the grace of God and in the presence of other men. I know that that will change generations of Charles' family as he moves on from here. That's what this is all about. That's what this is all about.
Yeah, Isaac, I'm glad you're my son, because you're such a blessing to us, to me and to our family. And I enjoy being just with you and hang around and call you my bud. And I enjoy seeing you grow each day in stature, in spirit, in mind, and your love for the Lord. I love you because simply you're my son, you're my flesh, my bone. There's nothing else. I'm just so proud of you. I'm proud of you because you love the Lord, love your family, love your friends, love your students. You have a beautiful smile. A smile inspires me, it warms my heart. And I know it has touched a lot of people's heart too. I'm just very proud of you. And you're always eager to learn, to help, and obedient. And I pray God will continue to bless you and grant you the desire of your heart and reveal His plan to you and give you the strength, the wisdom, the faith and love and the grace to do His will. And then also give you the spirit of obedience. And I pray for God will grant you that strength and grace.
Well, I'm glad that you're Dad, because you love me so much and have taught me how to love and serve the Lord, how to love and take care of a family that has loved you so much. And I know that we mess up sometimes, but you still love us, and that we are always proud of you. And I love you because you love me so much and have taught me how to love others, like Jesus loved us so much and died for us. No, you would do the same for us, and I would do the same for you. I'm proud of you because you have been through so much and have served God faithfully throughout your whole life and raised the great family that loves you so much. I pray God will bless you by giving you strength in the years ahead, and I will be able to honor you for what you have done for me. Thank you.
I'm David Turner, and this is my son, Brian Turner, my oldest son, my first son. Everybody says, boy, that Brian Turner's just a great guy. And you are. You're a man of integrity, and people see it. You're honest. You look people in the eye. You shake their hand. You hold door for women. You're kind. You're polite. You give at church. You give your time. You're a good husband. People see that. You are a good son, and they see that. You, as I get older, you help me. You help your mom a lot. I think I'm really glad you're a son because of those things. But even beyond that, I love you, and I want you to know that. And I prayed for you shortly after our marriage. I prayed for a son, and soon you came, and definitely were an answer to prayer, an answer to prayer. And I believe God made you just perfect, just right. My prayer is still that God will continue to grow you into a man of God, And right now, specifically, I'm praying that he helps you become just a great father.
I'm glad you're my dad because you've always been there to encourage me and push me to do things that I maybe didn't think I could do on my own. I think that's given me the drive that I have to complete any challenge that's put in front of me. I also am glad that you're my dad because you have been a Christian father leading our family and given us a good example of what that was, whether that was praying with us before we went to bed, praying before meals, serving in the church, giving and tithing. You've been that example for us. I love you because you've been there as an active father. It's not that I have to say that you ever weren't, but I know a lot of people that have a dad that just isn't there or isn't there emotionally or spiritually for them. Maybe they're physically, but not in the other aspects. You've taken great care to make sure that I grew up as a man that feared God and served people. I may not have always wanted to think that way, but I was glad that you kept encouraging me to do that. And then the last is, I guess I pray that you continue to find your calling in ministry. That'll change over time. I pray that you get to be involved as we're in the area and with grandchildren, and then you get to be involved with just living life as a big family, and I think that we are right now, but I pray that continues and that nothing comes between us.
Me too. Me too. It won't. We won't let it, right?
Yep.
We won't let it.
Intentional blessing right there, man. That's what it's all about right there, okay? Imagine the power of doing that when we get every man that hears the sound of our voices, our collective voice, begins to do that with the next generation. And then as they get older, and they have dads that are getting older and grandpas that are getting older, they begin to bless them. Do you see how that world can change, guys? It's just that simple. Affirming words, appropriate touch, and prayer. Let's be men of God that intentionally bless those around us. We can do this, guys.
Feels like rivers have flooded from my eyes as I'm changed into a better man. I look up to the stars and know it's time to head back east all the way